Hello, hello, we're live. Well, good evening, you lovely people, and welcome back to Claret Booze. We're back, as promised, after a lovely 4-week break. And look, we've got loads to discuss on tonight's show, as per, everything that's happened over the last 4 weeks. Not much in the way of transfers, nothing yet, but there's been plenty happening. So we will run through the lot. Also, that there is going to be a QA section later on in the show as well. I'm going to introduce the other people that are on tonight's show shortly, but before I do, let me just run through the chat to see who's in. Right, 1 minute. Where are we? We've got Matt Crawley. Hello, Matt. You all right? John McCarthy. Oi, oi. Here's a new one. Old Thinker Tube. Well, it might not be. Might have just changed his name. And again, Rob Needham. There you are. How you doing, Rob? You all right? There's Sean. Sean's in the house. Is it safe to go back into the water yet? Yeah, I'm all right. I've calmed down now. Sean's following my roller coaster of emotions on Facebook, along with many other people. Sorry about that. And we've got Grant. Hello, mate. How are you? Barney McGrew. Stell's typography and timekeeping. That's easy for you to say. Right, we've got Scott R. Hoping for a big day of signings tomorrow. 3 weeks until pre-season. Jamie Knight. We've got loads coming in. Ian Lynch. Garino. Welcome to you all. Right, well, anyway. Let's get me brother on, because he's not really a guest. He's my partner in crime. So Gary,
evening.
How are you, and how are you feeling after spending 2 weeks locked in a villa with me in Cyprus? Are you refreshed?
Oh yeah, really refreshed. Living on me nerves for 2 weeks. It was. I'll tell you what, it was a good holiday though, wasn't it? It was a good holiday.
It was brilliant.
So
it was amazing.
It was very hot out there. Very nice, lovely place, and yeah, good way to spend a couple of weeks. I must admit though, it feels like ages since we've done one of these. I feel like I feel refreshed, like Thomas Suchek at a potato salad retreat.
Well, it is literally. We said 4 weeks, and it is literally bang on 4 weeks.
Bang on.
There you go. See, right. Moving on to our first guest and familiar face on the show, the one and only Dave Hirst, Tourette's Dave, as he's called himself. If I don't know, I'm gonna have to turn the names on.
Evening, you cunts.
How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. Very good. Looking forward to this.
You coping well with the off season? I'm assuming you've been ignoring my rants on Facebook and stuff, have you?
Yeah. I've read a few, but it's silly season, isn't it?
It is, mate. It is. It is. I get so wrapped up in it all, don't I?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, you do. I used to, and I still do a bit. I get more annoyed at people getting annoyed.
I know.
You know, which is a bit daft, but we're all, what sort of world would it be if we were all just happy to play the waiting game?
That's right.
Right, I'm going to try and figure out how to turn people's names back on. 1 minute, just give us a second. Who's turned that off? Oh, God knows. Have a look, Gary, in the settings. I don't know where you...
I'll have a look. Yeah, go on, carry on.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay, right. I can't. I've locked myself out. Right, what's going on? Okay. And our fourth guest, another familiar face to anyone that watches West Ham YouTube on a regular basis. He's a regular on the West Ham network, but he's a Claret and Booze virgin. Luke Bailey. Here he is. How are you, Luke? You all right? Oh, you're on mute, mate. David Raum.
He was working a minute ago.
He was. He's gone off. You can tell he's worked with Stell in the past, can't you?
Yeah. I'm sure he'll come back in a sec.
He'll come back in a sec. Anyway, look. He's and like I say, Luke, he's joined us at quite late notice as well, because Will Wheeler was supposed to be making his debut tonight, but he's bottled it, Dave? He's bottled it completely,
Can't believe it.
Couldn't believe that. So hopefully we're going to get Will on in a few weeks as well. But tonight's show, look, it's all going to be about opinion and debate as usual. We've got a load of talking points that we're going to work our way through. So what we'll do is, I suppose we'll start off with this little story, if you can call it that. And that is Declan Rice and David Moyes. Now, I'm sure we all saw Rice's justified verbal attack on the ref in the tunnel after the Frankfurt second leg. Well, that's earned him a 2-match ban. Now, not content with that, Moyes has also been banned for a game after volleying the ball at the ball boy in the same game. Dave, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we've got away with it, or do you think that's over the top? Really,
Moyes is warranted because he got a red card, so that was always going to be the case. But
yeah,
I guarantee you, if that camera wasn't in a tunnel and that was Liverpool, Man City, Man United, there's not a fucking chance Declan Rice is getting a ban.
Yeah.
That happens week in, week out. And it just so happens because the camera's caught it, it's on all over social media, and they've had to act. It's nonsense, isn't it? It is nonsense. I was watching one of the England games recently, and the ref was getting so much abuse in his face. You can see what the players are saying to him, calling him a cunt, fucking this, fucking that. And you think,
I know.
That's a red card anywhere else, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
You know.
But I don't know. I mean, what was the punishment for Frankfurt? Did you get that, Gary? What did Frankfurt get a punishment for the?
They did get a punishment. I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but it was relatively minor. I think they got a fine. I think that's all they got was a fine.
They got a fine. Really?
I don't think they've been asked to play a game behind closed doors or anything. It's ridiculous, really. I mean, they just did it time and again, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Luke, are you with us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I can hear you now, mate. I can hear you now.
At the precise moment when you introduced me, something went on in the background. I thought, I just knew this was going to happen. So I just turned it all off, keep it safe. It's fine. Probably happen again in a minute, but just for now.
No worries, mate.
Nice to be on here, boys and girls, if you're watching. I'm from West Ham Network, but I've known Nick through social media, and I've finally decided to come on the show. So good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
You are a Claret Booze virgin, Luke. This is your first one. It's your first one.
Has he got to sing a song?
Yeah.
See you later, lads. Nice being here. Bye. After
How are you though, Lukey? You all right? You're good?
I'm all right. I would be right if we could sign a few more players. I'm touching on this whole thing that, you know, David Moyes at one point was the man to trust. Every signing that he made worked out perfectly, and I totally understood if he took 5,000 years to make the right player, every different cranium is good. But I think the couple of his signings over the last couple of seasons, I like Vlasic, I do, but I think he needs a season, he needs some regular starts. He signed Krau, never played the geezer, so obviously there's something going on in the background because he obviously didn't want him in the first place. And I think he made a comment a little while back when he said something along the lines of, I'm still working with players that aren't mine, and I need players to come in with my ethos. And yet he's got Pablo Fornals, who wasn't his signing, to be one of his main players and change his whole game completely. So if someone works in some sort of... It's the obviously... I expected all this, by the way. I expected all this. No signings, no nothing. There's a lot of talk of the owners setting up and doing this, that and the other. So I'm happy. I'm looking forward to the season. But I'm not doing a nick. I'm not biting so much. I bit a lot more last season. I'm starting to learn now. I'm educating myself.
I think I've done me biting. Do you know what it was? Do you know what I think it was? This Aguerd signing, which we're going to go on to talk about in a bit.
I bite your comments, by the way. Actually, I've realised now. Sorry, just before we go any further, I've seen your posting, and I'll be the one going.
I wind most people up, to be honest. I know. But what done me was this Aguerd signing. We was linked with him before we had the break. That was 4 weeks ago that we were in serious conversation with him, and then we're coming back. And I think what's kind of made me almost implode was you started getting talk of Newcastle coming in at the last minute and stuff like that, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, really? You know, but I did go too soon. I was too quick.
Do you just on this? Do you remember for about a good 10 years, whenever we were linked with a player, about a day after, Everton, Newcastle, and Southampton would be linked with exactly the same players? Would be in that mould now. And now I'm going, Newcastle surely now with all their money should be up there with the Man Cities and the Liverpools and the Man United. Nowhere near us, and yet they're still getting linked with players. Maybe because it's Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe was buying average players to keep them up.
A lot of it's lazy journalism.
I was going to say that.
It's just easy to just half these players that we're linked with. We've got zero interest in.
It happens. It's happened every transfer window since the dawn of time. Exactly right. You get the newspaper. Most of the so-called journos inside their head, they have us in little buckets. and we're in the bucket with Newcastle at the moment. So even that one today, it was that Dortmund left back that we're linked with.
Raum.
Raum.
Well, straight immediately after I went on News Now, Newcastle are also interested.
And the thing is,
like,
really, the thing is, but Newcastle have just signed Matt Targett.
So that's all that is an agent working behind the scene, trying to promote some. Let's get my player out there, get as much as I can for him. That's all. By the way, and the trouble is, we all fall for it, don't we?
No, we do. We always fall for it. But by the way, Garino's just answered the question. Pitch invasion gets a suspended fine, so not even a fine.
Okay, no, I mean that's ridiculous.
Rice and Moyes banned. Welcome to UEFA.
And the thing is, what that's not what playing sort of devil's advocate. Would we be treated any differently if that second leg, if the roles had been reversed and the West Ham fans had have charged onto the pitch at the London Stadium in the way that the Frankfurt fans did?
They would.
Would there have been more ramifications?
Every time.
Yeah. This was.
Or is that just playing? Without.
I think we'd have got some credit for actually making it to the fucking pitch.
Yeah. We should have known.
Just stop and have a fag halfway. Yeah, nearly there.
But is that kind of a victim thing that we've got, or do you think that's a genuine thing? Would we have been treated a little bit differently to the way that Frankfurt have been treated?
Well, Jim White would have definitely had to go to us on TalkSport the next day and said how disgusting we were, and how this is what annoys me, right? And I said this to I'll make this point very quickly, but I used to watch cup games when you'd get a League Two side playing a Premier League side in the cup, and the whole ethos of the media was we're at this ground to see an underdog story, to see the lower team beat the Premier League team. It might have been, I don't know, Bristol City versus Man City at home, and they'd want Bristol City to enter the glory a bit, right? And then about say it's like 1-0, and 5 minutes forward or a minute before the final whistle goes, you'd see all the fans like by the stewards just about holding them back, going, and they're waiting for the final whistle to jump on the pitch and celebrate with all their players, and they'd do it. And all the commentators would be going, look at these scenes, amazing scenes, they love their club, fair play to them. And then now, because there's been a few idiots punching and kicking, which is disgusting.
Yeah,
suddenly pitch invasions are the worst thing, and they're absolutely disgusting. No, for 10 years, that's what the FA Cup's all been about. They've gone to these lower league teams, and they're going like that. And then nothing on TalkSport was said about the Frankfurt invasion once it got knocked out. Nothing. There was nothing. There was no. Even one of them, they're going up to Antonio and getting in his face and saying, "Oh, we just knocked you out." I didn't hear anything from the media. Nothing about them at all. It's accepted because out there they're a lot more out loud and I don't know, violent.
I think it's almost the norm, isn't it? It's
in the 80s and 90s, though, the last home game of the season at Upton Park every year was everyone went on the pitch.
Highlight of the year, wasn't it, Dave? Because every season was largely crap, wasn't it? Yeah. And so it was like something to look forward to.
I remember the season we got relegated and we smashed Forest 3-0. Remember McAvenny's hat-trick and Des Walker's last game. And all West Ham went on the pitch, and I was in the South Bank, and we got right next to the Forest fans, and you could see there was a bit of it. They're like, are they looking for aggro? And then everyone was saying, come and join us on the pitch, and they all got on, people swapping hats and scarves. How it should be. There's no risk of any trouble. You might get one dickhead, but and that's how most pitch invasions, certainly that I've experienced.
I think the issue is now in this country. I think it's all gone a bit mental. I think if you had a pitch invasion in this country now, people are feral, wouldn't they? There probably would be.
This year is the worst I've ever known. Certainly at away grounds, I've never seen trouble so frequently.
I found that as well. There was like a toxic atmosphere at some of those grounds, wasn't there? It was just antagonising each other. By the way, Grant has outbid Garino and said Frankfurt fine, 80k, by the way, one game behind closed doors, which is suspended. So they will get the 80 grand fine. And
80k?
Yeah.
Fuck, what was the point?
Yeah, I know.
It's a joke. Anyway, Gary, moving on to your first one.
Yeah, so Sullivan and Brady. So this is quite interesting. Obviously, it's been doing the rounds for the last couple of weeks, but David Sullivan is backing Lawrence Bassini with a £33 million loan to basically buy Birmingham City. Now, early rumours were if Bassini reneged on any of his loan payments to David Sullivan, Sullivan would inherit the club, right? So other people are now saying that this is David Sullivan's landing zone after he sells up next year, March 2023, when they no longer have to pay the 20% levy on profits to the government. it's often been denied by fans. I mean, repeatedly been denied by fans that they're going to do that in March 2023, but it's starting to feel more and more like they're going to.
It's going to happen,
It is. And as for Birmingham, I mean, the GSB haters, because they were hated there when they left and they sold up, but now they're quite warm to them. When you look at that, they actually look back at the GSB era as like the good old days after what they've been through. So for looking at it through a softer lens, it was now, you know, wherever Sullivan goes, Brady goes. And it was also rumoured, and this came up on TalkSport, Bassini talking to Jim White, he gets a few mentions, and Simon Jordan, that she might land there as a CEO. That'd be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it? So it looks like the plans are in place for it to happen. So whether we think it's true or false, let's go around and ask. Luke, what do you think?
Well, I've heard rumours it's not true, and I hope that wouldn't come true, because that is a dream come true for me, that this finally happens. I've sort of shouted blue motor at least some people, maybe harshly to a point, because I do get quite passionate about it. I've learned to sort of simmer down now, let everyone else have their opinions. But people saying, "Oh, look what they've done with the club by taking them to a new level and putting them in a massive 60,000 stadium." And I always go, "Well, it's not a 60,000 football stadium. It might be a 60,000 stadium. It's not a 60,000 football stadium."
Yeah.
And I said, all they've done to West Ham is what they didn't do at Birmingham, because they weren't allowed to do it at Birmingham. They're not West Ham fans. I mean, David Gold might have played for, West Ham 1,000 years ago, like every other, like half the blokes in Essex have had West Ham trolls, mate. You ain't on your own there, do you know what I mean? David Sullivan he just tries to be David Brent, look alike and sound alike to me personally at times. So listening to him drag on. They're both, all three started off, they had me, last season at the bowling, I was totally in their pockets, praising them to the hill. They moved to the stadium, and I think, in a way, to my mind, it was like, right, they shoehorned us in there, they booted us all in there, going, right, yeah, this will do, get them in. And then they just didn't really care after that. They haven't cared, or they haven't had a clue, either wise. I saw a number of comments over the years from Birmingham fans saying, "We warned you, West Ham fans, this was going to happen. This is what they tried to do at Birmingham." And unfortunately, they've been successful, and you lot, this is what you're paying for. I know that they were due to set up in 2023. This was the whole point of the next season. The next year coming was the idea they'd make their money from the stadium and then move on. And ironically, Kretinsky would be the man to come in and take over or do something along them lines. So I was kind of waiting for this, because I thought doesn't seem to me it's too much of a businessman to just go and retire and sail off into the Bahamas and not have anything to do with football anymore. So this would make sense. I don't want to believe it in a way, because there's a part of me that knows it won't be true. But it does make absolute sense.
You don't dare. You don't want to let yourself believe it.
No,
just
exactly.
in case.
You don't want to get your hopes up. You don't want to get your hopes up.
No, exactly. But it would be Christmas come early for me personally. But there you go.
I think it speaks for all of us. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, look, the sooner we're shot, the better. I see £35 million of Bassini. Who the fucking hell's he? I've never heard of him. I thought it was just somebody we're in for. I thought it was another rumour. But
he's apparently a very dodgy bloke who's going to find it very hard to meet the fit and proper football owners test that isn't really. Apparently, he might even fail that. And you've got to be a pretty bad bloke to fail that.
Because football club owners are generally dodgy as hell, aren't they? So
he's one of Jim White's best mates. Any dodgy owner that's ever been in this country has already been a mate of Jim White. He's been on TalkSport, and Jim White going, "This man's fantastic. Why would the fans not want this?" Fans called him. They called him. They go, "Well, he's made a mug of this club and that club," and they're like, "Yeah, but give him another chance." No, that's fine. No, honestly, look him up. I guarantee he's been on TalkSport at some point with Jim White. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he was. He was on last week. He was on last week. Yeah.
TalkSport used to be entertaining, but I can't listen to that shit. Not with the likes of Jim White.
I like Simon Jordan.
I like Hawksby and Jacobs, because they're away with the fucking Ferrers, the pair of them. They're like the two who sit up in the stalls in the Muppets. That's who they're like. Completely false. Who's got no real idea what's going on. But look, I don't want to dwell too much on David Sullivan and Claret Brady. Michael Brennan will vouch for the first time Michael Brennan watched the game at West Ham with me. Was we lost 5-0 to Arsenal at home, or 5-1, December 2016. And when the fourth goal went in, I went marching off because I was just below where the directors sit. Brady, you cunt! Get out of my club! And so, and me and Brennan have been close pals ever since. He loved it, and I've got no time for that woman. She's poison. I don't want it anywhere near our club. So as soon as she's gone, but on God, I don't want to I'll be accused of being a sexist. So I hate the other two equally as much. So just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Don't at me, Claire.
Do you think? I mean, with Brady, because as far as I know Birmingham, as Luke alluded to, the Birmingham support kind of they've warned us, they hate them and everything else. Surely, I know they're in a bad way at the moment, and things didn't get better after Sullivan left. It got worse. Do you think they're going to embrace Sullivan? Do you think they will?
I wouldn't have thought so, but I think it's they've had experience of them, and they had a relatively successful period under them. Got to some cup finals, one that they should have won. They're. I suppose it's and I don't want to sound like an arrogant. We're a bigger club than Birmingham, which we fucking are. But they suit Birmingham. They done well there. Birmingham fans probably should be quite grateful to have them back. Personally, I just want a shot of them. Anyone can have them.
I think the ones they were the ones that landed them in the crap in the first place by selling to some charlatan, right? Some guy who shouldn't have really been owning a football club. But tweets I've read from Birmingham fans, I don't think they've forgiven and forgot, but they do see that as better times than what they're in now, and they probably will. If they do go over there, they probably will get them back into the Premier League and stuff like that. It's what they do.
Yeah.
But when you look back on the owners that we've had, who would you go? Actually, they were better than what we've got at the moment. Because it's very difficult, isn't it? We had the Icelandics who were just a circus that turned up for a few months. Not really. We had no direction under them.
Do you know
the Kearns family? They ran a steady ship, but we were a yo-yo club. We really were a yo-yo club when they were in the hot seat. And Ken Brown, not Ken Brown,
Terry Brown.
Terry Brown. Yeah, so we've got a history of owners that have not been. Yeah, exactly. We've always been bored out, haven't we?
We've never liked our owners. We've never liked our owners, but for good reason.
I actually like the Icelandics. I'll tell you why. I think they were at their depth. I think they were. Probably not up to standards. The one thing that I liked about him was the fact, especially Aguerd. Aguerd was always praising the West Ham fans. Every interview he had on Sky Sports, he kept saying, "I love the West Ham fans." He never made anything about I'm West Ham fan. We make this successful. All he kept saying was, "We want to make it successful because those fans, after being to a game, I'm in love with them and they deserve all the things." And they had the Icelandic market crash as well, which I think didn't help things. And they probably were at their depth.
Yeah.
My problem in comparison to the owners we've got now is the owners from the moment they stepped through the door, they couldn't wait to get into the press and say, "We're going to make West Ham this, we're West Ham fans this." Yeah. And if you look back through the years since they've been at West Ham, there's never been, how can I put it? There's never been any love for the fans. It's always we're fans to trust us. We know what we're doing. We won't let you down. Whereas they was going, look, we might not, even Eggert's come out now. It came out a few years back after being slagged off by when he first turned up. He said, "I'm not being funny." I said, "We might not have been that good. We'll hold your hands up. I'll probably one of the mistakes I've made in life was taking over a football club. But I always tried my hardest, and I wanted to make it work. Not for me, for the club." And he said that I hope they do make it work for West Ham fans because they deserve it. And I ain't been funny since them comments, since we moved stadiums. Everything, he's been basically Sullivan's a hypocrite because he's going to have a go at them for making mistakes. He's lucky David Moore's come along and had a second chop at the job because it's been like he's saved their, you know what I mean, after last time. So I did like them, and it's a shame it didn't work out for us and the club with them in charge, to be honest.
No, you're right, and actually they're probably my favourite season following West Ham. Ironically enough, was when we were that dog shit, that Great Escape season, and that was under their under their control. It was just it was an amazing season. I remember walking out of Wigan when we beat them 3-0. and Eggert Magnusson was walking amongst the fans, and people slapping him on the head. Do you know what I mean? And this is like, but it's going back to what Luke said. He wasn't me and you. I mean, we were all in it together, and that's always been a West Ham thing, isn't it? And I find the last few seasons, certainly the last season, the players, we seem to have got a bit of that back. Remember, I remember going in the 90s, and you could relate to the players, and they related to the fans. Some of that's definitely come back.
Fornal's got that, isn't he?
Fornal's has got it. You can see every time they're on like Instagram and stuff. Bowen's on fire and all that. It's a really nice, humble thing to see from millionaire footballers.
Yeah, it really is. Really is.
Go on, Gal, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, Luke was right about Magnusson. I think was a decent bloke, a thoroughly decent bloke who had his heart in the right place and wanted to do the guy that's behind him, Goodmanson and the others. I mean, Goodmanson was a previous convicted fraudster and everything else, but he did have bundles of dough when he arrived. And then 2007 happened, and he ended up as the only bankrupt billionaire. Which is that if you're going to write a script for West Ham, that is what happens, right? That is what happens.
Yeah,
it wasn't directed at them as human beings and what their personalities are like. It was just we have had shit owners, and they were shit owners.
Yeah,
you can't get away from that.
Yeah. Is it playing devil's advocate, right? Take our kind of our hate for the balled out of the equation. Is there any argument from think of a third party looking in? Is there any argument to say that Golden, Sullivan, and Brady actually haven't done a bad job?
There's many.
Yeah.
They've probably done a decent job.
This is an argument. We're a second year into Europe, so we can't.
I know.
Sorry.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
No, so I get into interrupt you. So this is what I said to you boys before I come on. I'm quite opinionated, and I jump out and I forget someone's just talking.
Luke, I'm exactly the same. I sit there chomping at the bit half the time. So don't apologise.
No,
apologise to them too.
Yeah,
what was it? We all called it the Chuckle Brothers.
Well, you're called to Rex Dave, and I'm waiting for you to swear at me and tell me to shut up. Fuck up and
I won't swear at you, cunt.
It was
being called a cunt's a term of endearment.
I love it. It's what I am, so it's fine.
I think when you look at what they've done, they've run this West Ham as a business. It was going to the wall when they came in. Let's be honest, they did save the club. They came in and they've made us financially secure, and we've spent most of that time in the Premier League. And when we've dropped out of the Premier League, we've pretty much come straight back. The spending has been questionable. The only time they really opened their wallets was when David Sullivan got his wet dream of Pellegrini coming in that season. Other than that, I think he's always played safe. I think they basically lied to the fan base about the stadium. But if you look at it objectively, they've basically now got a very lucrative asset, if you like. It's a regular top half Premier League side with 60,000 plus regular supporters. Who would have thought? I mean, I always believed it, right? I always believed we could fill 60,000, but a lot of people didn't. I think we're one of the best supported clubs in the country. My dad always used to say that, and people used to laugh at him. But we are. We genuinely are. And if we had, this is us with no success. Imagine West Ham with success.
I know. I think if we had anywhere near the level of success, I'm not going to say Tottenham because Tottenham they don't have success today, but say Chelsea or Arsenal of the past. I think we could quite possibly be the biggest club in London. If we had anything like success, if we was to start getting regular Champions League football and stuff like that, can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine the waiting list?
Do you know what I found quite interesting was the fact that I think we had Frankfurt, or before, it might have even been a Sevilla game. The amount of fans who I worked with or saw down the pub or whatever that weren't West Ham fans, London club fans, Chelsea, Arsenal, even Spurs fans, amazingly enough, all wishing us well. Or these cunts me going, you got
I got a lot of that.
They
I've got a lot of that as well.
Nice to see it. One, it was nice to see an English team doing well, and B, it was almost like West Ham are getting sort of not where they belong, but like for a big club in Europe like West Ham, it's like how can I put it? I think it was the atmosphere actually. I think people were saying they were watching the games on BT Sport, I think the Sevilla and the Lyon games. And I've even watched it. I watched replays back, and you can, that is me, Gobby. That's describing pretty well to be fair. the commentator would make references to seeing how the atmosphere was, and they were saying, you get 60,000 fans in that stadium, you got to make a lot of noise. I said, you want to be there, mate, not just on TV. When you're there, it's different gravy as well. And so that's it. West Ham, I know Canning Town lenses it all the time, but West Ham used to be everyone's second club. And there's a hope I've got back in my mind that West Ham starting to now get back to those days that we're not talked about as an horrible club or relegation club or team that rented that stadium in Stratford. We're now the team that deserve that big stadium in Stratford, and we're making it work for us. And it's just nice, I think.
Yeah, I remember after the Lyon game and getting messages from Liverpool fans, United fans, Tottenham, Arsenal saying "fucking outstanding." I'm over the moon for you. And I think that regardless, if you take rivalry out of it, if my brother-in-law went over to the Champions League his Spurs fan, went over to Champions League when they played Liverpool. 2 minutes in, Liverpool get a fucking proper dodgy penalty. I felt sick for him as much as I laughed as well.
Yeah.
I felt sick. I was
dying with laughter, Dave.
I'd pick Spurs over Liverpool any day of the week, but let's not go there. And I just thought he's gone all that way. He spent a lot of money for a referee to make a decision like that. And I was genuinely gutted for him. I still took the piss because they lost. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that. Real, true football supporters will look at last season for us and think, "Fuck me, that is long overdue for you. Like you deserve that."
Yeah. Underneath it all, underneath the piss taking, there's a little bit of decency, right?
Of course there is, and there's a lot of West Ham fans who are exactly the same.
Yeah.
The only team I didn't feel sorry for last year was Liverpool in Paris. I fucking laughed and drank and sweat tears of joy.
Oh bloody! I'd say that was particularly bad. This isn't feeling sorry for Liverpool, but the French really don't like us today.
No, it's feeling mutual. To be fair, Nick. I do apologise if there's any French West Ham on here.
You lost about 12,000 subscribers, I think.
We have. Sorry about that. But moving on swiftly. This kind of takes us into the next discussion point. As we know, Kretinsky was brought into the club. We've now got this 12-person, 12-member board now, which, as we know, makes it almost impossible for Moyes to. It must make it almost impossible for him to work with, because it's sort of down in black and white at the moment that anything over a $2 million fee, David Moyes has to get sign off through 12 different sort of board members. Now, I know myself with what I do. If I've got a project, even if you talk something like a 50k project, if you've got multiple stakeholders, they've all got different ideas. Yeah. So it seems like David Moyes has to go out and convince, they're non-specialist people that they're all going to have their own ideas to bloody to get these deals over the line, and that is why
essentially raise a purchase order.
But exactly, mate. But that's all it is. But I think that's why these things drag. I think it's not going to help. I mean, what was that decision for is it Aguerd or Aguerd to not get that?
Aguerd.
Yeah, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult.
Just wait for the guy to turn on the first game to say his name out loud, and just go with that one.
Realise we're wrong.
But the thing is, why did we not get that deal done before the international debacle that we've just had to witness? Why? That must have been
because of the date, wasn't it?
It must have been a board decision, though. It must have been because somebody else said, I think it was in case he got injured. We didn't want to sort of sign him in case he got injured.
Weren't they away on international duty, including the player, before the end of May?
I don't know. I don't know if that was the case.
I think there was something about them being away on international duty.
Oh, right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, look, it was a very badly kept secret, wasn't it? That we were.
It was, but it's been running now. It's been running now for a month. And then when you look at, I'm going to use Spurs as an example. Let's say Bissouma. We all saw the story that we don't know how true it is that we were offered apparently Bissouma for 25 million. We all thought, no, that's nonsense. But then lo and behold, 2 or 3 days later, Spurs unveil him. It's done. So how can some clubs get these deals done and over the line very, very quickly, whereas we never seem to be able to achieve that? We just can't do it.
How many clubs was he offered to? And then, it's all well and good people saying, no, he was offered to West Ham. It might have been offered to West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. And Tottenham have gone, we'll pay you more money. and he wanted to go to the club. I think, and that's where I find we're naive when we see stuff on social media. We go, "Oh fucking hell, ex West Ham employee, he's right." I mean, you know, it charges people to give you news that he puts out there a couple of days later.
I got battered for mentioning X on Claret Booze. I got absolutely battered.
I know.
What people saying he's right all the time?
No. Saying he's
Oh, good.
I don't want to say it. I don't mind him. I don't mind him.
I don't know the guy. Don't know who he is. I'm not really that.
I mean, generally, look, he kind of leaves it until last knockings. But I think with X, when X says a deal is done, 9 times out of 10 it is done. You do kind of see that, but but none. I don't know. I mean, you've got him. Who else is there? You got Steinberg. You got the other bloke. Is it Romano? Whatever his name is.
Yeah. Fabrizio Romano. Dharma Chef. Some of them. The Sky Sports ones wait for X.
No, they do. I do think people sort of they turn their nose up at the ITKs, but in a way they are probably the real journalists now. They're the ones that are going out there doing all the digging, speaking to people, speaking to agents, getting all the information, and the big Sky Sports and everyone else. These guys are doing all the work for them.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, they're no more truthful or untruthful than journalists anyway. I mean, Kate, my wife, she this is straight up, and I can't mention too much because I might get hunted down for this, but she does a lot of business, or did, with Declan Rice's dad, Sean.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I'm always probing, and he's staying apparently for another season. So
you're announcing yourself. You're announcing yourself as an ITK tonight.
You're an ITK.
I am, yeah. What else?
Is this similar?
Well, hang on. We need to get some fucking clear guidelines here. I need money for this. I can't just sit on here and start shouting out who we're signing.
It's no problem. Nickel pay you.
Is it similar to when Mike Brennan was talking about Mason Mount when he? Do you remember?
Getting his hair cut or something, isn't it? No, seriously, she does. But I'm making that last bit. But she does did business with Sean Rice. But yeah, look, she wouldn't go into a meeting and go, "Hi, we've got a load of toilets to sell you. By the way, is Declan staying? Because my husband wants to know."
No, that's it. But look, sort of moving on. Obviously, as we've just spoken about, Sullivan, we think he's got his exit plan. He's going to be moving on. Do we think that this man, who, he's going to become, we think he's going to become the controlling party in the club? Do we think that Kretinsky is going to be the answer from what we've seen and what we've read about his time at his other club? Not all the reports are great. Do we think that this man is going to be the right person? Reason I say that is because we do moan about Golden Sullivan, rightly so. They've been terrible, I think, but I almost feel like they're kind of suited to the West Ham fan base because we do like to sort of be very vocal and we do like to kind of. I think they can be bullied. I think we've bullied the board over the years because I think they want to be liked. I do think they want to be liked. I don't think a chap like this. I don't think you're going to bully him. I don't think a guy like this he's not going to care. He's not going to care what we say. He won't care about his process. Then he ain't going to bother him.
I'm looking at that term bullying. I'm thinking, well, it ain't done much, is it? Because we're not exactly sitting on a, mega tree.
But I think it does though. I think they do react because I do think that I think Sullivan's a populist. I do think deep down, I think Sullivan wants to be loved.
David Brent, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely, David Brent. Go around the office saying, "Do you want to play around outside rather than do any work today?"
I think he does. The problem with Kretinsky has never really had a controlling interest in a football club, and he's always been. If you look at his investments, he seems to have a minority shareholding in pretty much everything. He's not one who takes a controlling stake. So the consensus on him was that he bought into West Ham as an investment rather than being as the sole owner. So if he does become the sole owner, this will be a first for him. Or no, I mean, he's a majority shareholder in some oil and gas companies. But that's about it.
Andy.
Yeah. Always happy.
Is he not the majority shareholder at Sparta?
No.
Slavia. He was
Slavia.
He was either a part shareholder or he was. They were saying basically he was the main reason why we got Crow. It was because of his influence and the Suchek and Saval being behind it as well. They thought that Crow would come in, and they said the only reason why we got him is because Kretinsky had influence over him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get him. Apparently.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's the whole reason he can buy an interest in West Ham, because he doesn't have a controlling stake at the other club. So I'm a bit in two minds as to whether he's going to be able to make things better or not. Going back to the original point of this, though, about the 12-man approval process that we've got to go through, I think some of those board members are token board members anyway. I think there's 2 or 3 people actually making a decision, and surely it ain't like old fashioned where they have to meet in a shiny, in a wooden boardroom and sort of go around and do votes. I'm pretty sure Sullivan carries the votes of his kids, Gold carries the votes of his kids, Kretinsky carries the votes of his partner. So I reckon it's probably a Zoom call between 3 people to decide, whether Moyes can spend money or not. At least I hope it is.
So what do we think the hold-up could possibly be then? With what I'm saying is, and I know we're only 9 days into the window, and this is, and look, it looks like he's going to be unveiled on Monday. Now, I will say, West Ham to spend 25 to 30 million after 9 days of a transfer window being open, that's probably different level for us. I don't think we've done that for quite some time. So it does show some serious intent. But we have been kind of, we do drag these things on, don't we? And nothing ever seems to happen quickly with us. And it has been a month-long process. It has been a month-long process with Aguerd.
I don't care. We've got a good player over the line. We've got a good player over the line, and he's filling a position that we need to fill, right? It's his round peg in round hole. I want to see more of this. It's like that left back. We badly need a left back stroke left wing back. Let's fill that position with a quality player. Someone who can do the good bits that Cresswell does, like the set-piece delivery and everything else. Someone who can do that as well, but someone who's a little bit more stable and a little bit quicker. A lot quicker than Cresswell.
do you guys remember, just talking about transfers, this is something I always go back to, and it's never been as good as this, ever. Do you remember in 2010 when they first took over around about that time, we signed Hitzelsberger?
Yeah.
I think it was even on free, right, out of nowhere. Right, no one saw it coming at all, right? And everyone's like, why we just signed him? And the more people thought about it, it went, actually makes complete sense, right? And all the I've never in the 12 years or whatever they've been at West Ham, you always get a negative comment somewhere along the lines. Also, like, we signed him, his injury process. Every comment was positive. Going, get him in, get him in. Lo and behold, he got injured, and throughout the whole season, basically didn't make 10 appearances. Yeah. It was in a way, a bit of a shoddy transfer in the end because it didn't work out. But we've never replicated that. We've never, even if it is going to take a long time to sign someone, don't let the world know about it 4 months before it happens, because
there's been a few, hasn't there? Yeah. Dimitri Payet was done fairly quickly.
He's done quickly. It wasn't done. It wasn't done out of nowhere. Though.
That's what I mean. I didn't.
No. Nothing is now. I'm just saying.
And that is the trouble. Is that the social? As soon as someone picks up on it, if you've got someone like who we're all meant to believe in, X, who gets this information before, I swear, David Moyes does.
Yeah.
It's filtered out straight into mainstream social media straight away. So as soon as a rumor,
exactly.
There's no secrets, is there? And you talk about Basuma. I don't follow any real Tottenham supporters on Twitter or any Tottenham accounts. Were they talking about him a day or two before they signed him, or do they talk about players a week or two before they sign him? I don't know, because I only look at what West Ham are doing. So I'm pretty sure we're not the only club that have these rumours and long drawn transfers.
No. But it's probably you're probably right. I mean, the thing is, look, it is a good start. This is done now. Aguerd, he said his goodbyes, isn't he? On social media now.
You could say, by the way, I know the whole process has been going on for a while, but from the time he got back from international duty, it's actually been wrapped up quite quickly.
Yeah. When's that, Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes. Indeed. Right, Gary, over to you.
Yeah, so talking about transfer budget, I mean, it's rumoured, who knows, right? But it's rumoured that he'll have a budget of around about 150 mil. And so far, he spent 30 million euros roughly total deal value for Aguerd. And it'll probably be, with him coming in, Diop will be going out, so there'll be incomings and outgoings. We'll probably need to spend 30 to 40 million on a new left back stroke left wing back. We'll probably need to spend 25 million for a wide left player, and hopefully 40 to 50 million for a striker, even though that'll probably end up being a couple of wingers rather than an actual striker. When you work it out and you look at how much budget he's got and how much money is going to be coming in and how much we expect he's going to spend, I mean, I don't think Moyes is going to spend that entire budget. I think if he has got 150 million, I think he'll probably end up spending less than 100, and he'll bring in a few bargains. That's what I'm worried about. I would love to see Moyes actually bite the bullet and go out and get the business done. Once you've bought all the players you need and you've got rid of all the players you don't need, and I'm thinking, I know, Luke, you mentioned earlier that you like Vlasic, but I'm not sure Vlasic is going to make the grade at West Ham. I think Ben Rama's going to be let go. Diop's going to be let go. I'd like to see, irrespective of the amount of transfer money that he spends, I would just like to see him continue to put in round pegs in round holes so that we've got a complete squad and the right number of players. Because next year, 5 subs, we've got to start bringing players on from the bench to affect the game. But anyway, sort of back to the point, how much do you think Moyes has got? And so, for instance, if he's got 150 million, how much do you think he's going to actually spend? And do you think he's going to get all of the players he needs, or is he going to come up short? So, Dave.
In terms of what his budget is, I don't know, because that's heavily influenced by buying who he sells as well.
Yeah.
So selling Ben Rama, I'm very 50-50 with Ben Rama. Some weeks I watch him and think this guy is top drawer. Other weeks I think he's a donkey. But you're talking about players who can come off the bench and influence the game. I think he's exactly that sort of player. I don't see any value in selling him. We're linked with Januzaj, who was at Man United. Is he any better? Probably not. I've seen to keep Ben Rama. Moyes won't rush out and spend 100 million pounds. He just won't. We all know that. He's very, very careful with what he spends. Proof he's been a manager who's never really had a big budget. So why would it? He's learned to deal with players that he's already got, and players who will come in and definitely improve the team. And that's why I spoke about Vlasic earlier in the season. He didn't feel like a Moyes signing to me. I don't know why, he never did.
No, same here.
Moyes will only sign a player if they're going to come in and impact the team, and I really hope he does that. Certainly with a forward, so we can get Antonio out wide and play him in his natural position. But is he going to spend it? If his budget, so let's just blue sky thinking, if his budget is 150 million pounds, is Moyes going to spend it? If the players are available, yes. But if he can't get the players he wants in, no, he won't.
Has he ever been in this situation before, Luke, David Moyes, as a manager, where he's got a team that is heading up the table, doing well, improving year on year, and then suddenly he's lost a whole load of squad members in one go, and he's left with a relatively small squad? I mean, surely that forces him to go out and spend money, doesn't it?
I think this is quite almost mirror image to his Everton days. I think one of the previous Everton owners come out, or the coaches said a few years back, saying, he always liked a small squad at Everton, and he actually wanted a small squad because he used to utilise the fitness regime, so the players he had, the core that he had, would be able to have longevity, which means he wouldn't need to go out. And the owners loved him for that, because it means he wouldn't spend any money. And then Everton got as far as they did. He probably play or player here and there. I don't think he would, if he had 50 million. I think he'd try and buy 5 players at 10 million each. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as those players are worth 10 million or more. they're worth their value. I don't mind not going out and spending. I'm not all about. I'm not a 10-year-old kid. I don't want to go see Ronaldo and Messi. I'd like him to go and sign someone who would work for West Ham. I think he's what he does. I think he's very clever and broad-minded. I think our subject conversation earlier about Krasinski and the board plays into that. It's at the minute West Ham's got a bit of a yin and yang situation for me. I think you've got someone like David Moyes and his low spending, which plays into the board's hands because they don't want to be paying out like they did under Pellegrini when it just threw money at everything. I think he's also someone that wants to spend on the right players, and unfortunately, I think the few players that he wants, like in Nesyri for Sevilla in the past, are going to cost a bit of money. And they're saying, well, we could give you 50 million, but if you can make it with someone from the Championship in 2 or 3 years' time for half the price, we'd like you to do that. And he's probably biting his lip going, what do I do? What do I do here? And at the same time, he's coming out in the press to West Ham fans going, the transfers are down to me. They're my decision, not the board's, down to me. And although I respect that, I also go, well, you've got to take the flak. If it doesn't work out, if you go and sign these players that don't work out, you've got to go. I did say it was my thing, even though it's not, because dickhead at the back there ain't giving me the money, but I'm taking a flak for him. You were talking about Ben Raum, Dave, just quickly on that. I personally don't think he's Premier League quality in our team. I was watching a video on Instagram earlier, funny enough, it was about skillful players, all the tricks and all the flair they had. And I thought to myself, David Moyes would never buy one of them players. And it's not really a criticism. It's one of those where you go, it's a bit unfortunate because that is actually what West Ham's call. That's like Di Canio from the back days. Play. He would never bought Payet. He would never bought Di Canio, not because of their mentality, because of the way they play. And I think for Ben Rama's sake, he has to go because he's been like, Joe Cole went to Chelsea and Mourinho coached all the flair and all the tricks out of him. Yeah. And even when Joe Cole went to Liverpool, Gerrard went, why is this good? Why has this kid not won a Ballon d'Or with his talent that he's got? Because he's just ridiculous. And I think it's very good and very respectful, and I love the West Ham that Moyes has got. But I think he's also shooting himself in the foot a little bit by having someone like Ben Rama or their ilk and going, you see that kick back and drag back and double trick you did that there, don't do that anymore. Just want you to run with the ball and set someone else up, which is fair enough if it works. But when you're trying to get the Europa League and you try and get to a final of the European competition and you don't get there and you've pretty much surrendered 3 Premier League games because you're putting all your eggs in the Europa League basket. Unfortunately, that's when I think a lot of fans are going, well, I know we sacrificed 3 games in the league, the Arsenal game and this, that and the other, but you've got to make it work, and you didn't do that. And maybe someone like Ben Rama, if he was allowed to be, flourishing, he might have made a difference. You don't know.
See, I don't know.
You need an expressive player in every team, even if they're coming off the bench.
You definitely do. You definitely do. But and I think I agree with Nick on Ben Rama. I think he's a great player to have on the bench to come on and change the game. I don't think most of the time anyway, when I've seen him start a game, he hasn't been all that. I know he's been trying to play into the Moyes mould and get his defending side right first. And there have been times when he sort of forgets all that and he just does his own thing anyway. And I think that's what Moyes meant when he said to someone else that Ben Rama is uncoachable.
Yeah.
But you can see similar things happening with Grealish under Southgate.
Yeah.
How can you not want that guy in your team?
Yeah, well, uncoachable to me means, from Moyes, it means exactly what Luke was just saying. Yeah. Is the inability to ditch all that flair, because the flair always bubbles to the surface with him, doesn't it?
That's his natural game.
Yeah.
You can't coach that out of players.
But I think that I don't know whether we're being unfair on Moyes, because I think we've seen an example of with Lingard when Lingard came in, that Moyes will, if you're good enough, and there's end products, I think that David Moyes will allow you to express yourself and go on if there is end products. Now, when you look at Ben Rama's stats, I think they're a bit misleading because they look really good on paper, and he does have some great moments, Ben Rama, he does. But I think there are, for every one good thing that he does in the game, even though you could argue that one good thing could be a goal or an assist, there are several things that frustrate you in every time he plays.
I agree.
But then you can
every time he plays.
Then take a step back and watch Antonio and Pablo Fornals.
But Antonio's another one. He's becoming even more of an enigma because, and I'm not getting it with Antonio because I know he's getting older. But we've seen it last season. There's been certain games last year, like the Lyon game, where Antonio's probably been the best he's ever been. He's been unplayable. But then the next game you watch him play, and I love Antonio, I do. But the next time you watch him play, he can't even fucking he can't do anything.
Fornals is the same. Is probably more consistent than Ben Raven. But there's sometimes you watch him, and I love him. I mean, he is a proper adopted Cockney, and he is. Everyone's taking him in. But sometimes I watch him and think, you look like a League Two player.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it comes across Seville game, certainly over there, tried way too hard.
Yeah.
Gone back to his country and all. The difference is he's got all the effort, hasn't he? Fornals. Yeah. You can never turn around and say he's given anything less than 100%. But we have some players who are inconsistent, and I think Ben Rama is probably unfairly picked on or picked out. And I think Moyes is part of that. Moyes will sub him more than he will any other player.
Let me tell you one other thing that Moyes said, and no, he didn't say it. This comes from Stuart Pearce, an interview on TalkSport. I found this really worrying. Right. Stuart Pearce said that with the West Ham team last season, 9 or 10 of the players in the first team picked themselves every single week. So when they had the team meeting to talk about team selection, it was largely a waste of time attending, right? And he said the one other player, so say 10 of them picked themselves, he said the other one that got picked, it was a choice of 2 players. And he knew as a coach that whoever was picked, the other one would be subbed on later in the game.
It is a worry, though.
And that was words from Stuart Pearce. It was an actual quote on TalkSport.
Jesus.
I'm not sure that's that irregular. I would imagine there's a lot of, certainly when you're working with a small squad, you're going to have 9 or 10 players you know are going to start when everyone's fit.
I think personally it's a bit harsh of Pearce's to say that. I think he was just being honest. And Pearce is harsh. Is all I think is that David Moyes had a very, very small pool of players that he trusted. And if he can get a bigger pool of players that he trusts, then it'll be a different situation, I hope.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Only thing that used to annoy me was the Yarmolenko thing, because I think, and I'm going to sound really, really harsh saying this, but I think the war, the troubles there back in his country maybe gave him some more like emotional input into the game, because I think his form changed after that started going on, which is in the worst way possible. But I think there's a point in our season where we've got youth on the bench, and Yarmolenko is good at what he does when he's on point, but it's very rare for West Ham. Very, very common for Ukraine, but for us, it's not very happening. And I thought, just chuck on Okaflex, because Okaflex to me,
I know,
is like a mirror image of Antonio. Right, plays the same way. He's got the same sort of build, and I pushed him for the under-23s, and for me, he's really, really good. He's brilliant, right? And Antonio, for me, before he started playing for Jamaica, he had everything. Scoring touch, he was bullying defenders, he had everything. And after that, I don't know if he got a little bit like, not maybe an ego, but he got a bit like there's no help. I've got to try and look after myself. So I'm not going to make that lung-busting run that I would have done last week.
He did come out, Luke, didn't he? He did come out and say that he wanted help. He was almost a plea for help, wasn't it? In that interview,
And football successful football teams, every single position on the pitch has competition for places. Yeah. And he's had no competition all season.
No. It's got to the point now for me that with the last 5 games I watched, I didn't want him shooting. I wanted him to pass the ball to someone else, because I just thought I'm really worried about that guy sitting in the top and row Z. I'm hoping he's got a helmet on or something, because it's gonna come to him. You know what I mean?
But going back to Okaflex, because look, I'll be honest with you, I don't follow the under-23s that intently. I have watched a few games. I watched a few games in the last few seasons. You said that they're very similar players. Okaflex to Antonio. I'm not saying that he's not. But
I know what you're going to say.
But in the games that I've watched, though, Luke, they are completely non-competitive. They're played at a slower pace. I don't know that you can take anything from their performances in the under-23s, and that's not me saying that these players that are in that team are not good enough to make the step up. But from what I watched about 10 minutes of a game, and I'm like, what is this? It was like a snail's pace. You know,
you say that. I watched the Leicester game. This is why I was meant to talk about. It's one game I watched. I think about 90 minutes. And I watched it the full way through, and it was against Leicester. I think we lost 4-2 or something like that, right? Or along them lines. I meant on conflection Antonio because for me Perkins and Antonio are the complete polar opposites. Like Perkins is a target man almost. Who you just put in the balls. A bit of Haller, a bit like Haller, just stands there, knock the ball into him. Conflection is different, but. Everyone's going on about this Baptiste and Alessi at the back and how good the defenders they could be coming. Genuinely on that night, the under-23s night, Leicester could have scored 10 goals because they cut through the defence so much. Right. And I just started to think. I just thought we're known as the Academy of Football. Fans have always cried out for defenders to step up. We're low on defenders. Bonner's injured. Diop was injured at one point. You know, Zuma's touch and go with his knees every now and then. I said that if he's going to play youth, it'll be now. It's going if they've got a chance, they're going to get it now. And I'm not saying that because they're doing really well in the under-20s players, they've got to get a chance. But you start to think to yourself, going, how good was Rice? If anyone watched the 23s intently, right? How good have you got to be his first team worthy just based on these performances under 23s? It must be so difficult to go. He's ready.
You know what though? You know what? With a youth system, how many players are delivered through a youth system who make it into the first team? I mean, you got to be talking one good one every couple of seasons.
Yeah.
So when you look at the back line, Alessi and Baptiste and Longello, you know, all those players, you know, it's very unlikely that if you look at the stats that any of those are going to make it. And it looks like we're going to flog Longello already. Forrest are interested. We're going to flog a Jetty if we can, a Lacey rather, and then Baptiste is going to be sent out on loan to see if he can make it as a first team player. So that just tells me that these players are nowhere near the level of Declan Rice or of other players who have made like Ben Johnson as well. You know, these players must be head and shoulders.
What is Alessi? Is he like 22, 23? Now, I'm not being funny. If he weren't going to get an opportunity last season when we was on our arse defensively, he's never going to get a game. He's never going to get a game for us, you know, ever.
The only one I ever actually look back on and go, maybe clubs have ruined players is when Tim Sherwood come through at Tottenham and he was their manager and he brought in Harry Kane and they said, why are you bringing this guy who's 24 even you? Because every manager's not let him have a chance. They don't trust him, and this kid needs to be treated. He's had like 10 loan deals, never been given a chance, and then obviously history from then on has proved otherwise. And obviously he's one of the best strikers in the world, in my opinion, rivalry aside. And you just start to think to yourself, how much does knockbacks have on the player? I know other players overall good, they'll be fine, but you look back at the whole history, even West Ham, you know, Allardyce ruined about 10 youth players
away to Forest.
For doing that. You know, how many other players, you know, does David Moyes, you know, is he really that interested in the youth? Even if you had a really good player in that youth setup, would he go, he'd do for me, he's fine, you know? Or is he going to go, Dawson, another painkiller injection and let him go and have another 90 minutes? Because you've got to be good enough. Don't get me wrong, you have to be good enough. But I do wonder, are there players in there that were good enough and that just wasn't given the opportunity? Nothing you can do about it.
I think that will absolutely be the case. I mean, I remember listening to the Mark Noble interview, and he spoke about that moment when he was pushed through into the first team and he made his debut, and he said this goes back to some players will either sink or they will swim, and he said when he got his when he played with the first team, he said, I was doing things I never knew I could do. He said it was the best I'd ever played. Now this is a player that has come into the team and he's excelled, whereas you'll get the stars of the academy that will come in and they'll die on the stage. I think Declan Rice, in a sense, if you listen to that bloody, you know, harrowing interview that he did on Sky Sports with Gary Neville when he talks about all sorts of things, he did speak about how he was always the underdog in the academy. Declan Rice was always the underdog, and he thinks that's what's made him. That's what's given him his work rate. Because I think it was probably who would it have been? Who was the other guy? Reece Oxford. Reece Oxford probably would have been the star of defence. And he said at one point West Ham were even looking at letting him go as well. So Declan Rice has always had to work hard in the academy. I just don't know. I don't know whether the under-23s, from what I've seen, I don't know whether there's any value in it. I think you're better off. I think that these players that were in the under-23s last year would have benefited far more being farmed out on loan.
This is an important thing as well. Many of these from Ballon d'Or here, too many of these under-23s are too eager to sign a pro contract on good money. And sit in the under-23s. If you want to be a professional footballer, get out. Now, I mean, there's also there's the other thing as well. So rather than they do this at Chelsea all the time. They choose the comfy existence at Chelsea in their system where they're getting paid good wages, but they're basically going to piss their career away going out on loan for a couple of years where they're never going to make an impact. And we've seen the other thing as well, like with Jeremy and Ngakia, and now with Sonny Perkins, where they kind of have a little sniff of the first team, and then suddenly their ego goes into hyperspace, and they think they deserve senior player wages, right? When they're clearly not ready.
Yeah. No, there is that.
But I'm with you. I'd like Okaflex. I was gagging to see Okaflex play last year. I would have loved to have seen him given a chance, and I was disappointed, like time after time, to see Yarmolenko lumbering on from the bench. I know.
I remember an argument with my dad, and he was sitting next to me on the stands. I don't know who. I think we were playing someone. We weren't going to win. He was coming towards into the game, or something. I can't remember what it was due to the thing. I was getting so annoyed the way we were playing. Yeah. And my dad went, "Look, sometimes you got to change it. You got to just change things and do something that no one would think you'd do." He said, "I'll bring Yarmolenko on the right wing." I said, bringing him on, it's going to do nothing. He's going to do the same thing he does all the time. Try and cut back on his left, and when he cut, he'll play. And then my dad was like, "Yeah, but he changes things." And the more I was going, I understand, but I'm in a rage, and I can't let you know you're right, because otherwise I'm going to go back. You know what I mean?
But I think what's irritating though, Luke. Sorry to interrupt. Is that what we're saying there? It's the predictability of what we're going to be doing, and like I say, what I would like to see going into next season, if we have got more options, because it isn't even if we've got more numbers, it's if we've got more good players that as Gary said, more good options where Gary might be just to get the opposition manager guessing, because they must have been able to predict, we all could all season long. If certain players are fit, they play. And I think we've all been criticising sort of Southgate over the recent weeks, because when Southgate first came in, it was very refreshing. He came in, it wasn't the same old players. People were being picked on merit. Well, do you know what? Totally that didn't last long. So Southgate has created his own little circle of players that he can't let down, that have to play. And that is what I think part of the problem was with Moyes to a degree last year. I think when you've got the likes of Souček, who was playing awfully. I'm not Souček's biggest fan, but I was starting to feel sorry for him in the end. That guy needed to come out of that team. He had to come out of that team, know, and I don't know. It is frustrating. I do think that,
It reminds me of a few years back when Allardyce was managing us, and we were due to go away to a Man United game. And I think it was Phil Neville. One of the coaches come up to him and said, he said, good luck tonight. Should be a good game. And they sort of looked at him and went, "We know how you're going to play, mate." And then he went into the press and he went, "I think someone's got to have a look at someone's scouting our coaching, or they're spying on our coaching, because how would he know how to play?" Thinking, everyone in their dog knows how you play, Sam. It doesn't take much to work it out. Long ball over the top and all done. You know what I mean?
I know.
There's a good point here from John. Evening, John, by the way. The Conference League early stages. Good way to blood a lot of the under-23s.
That's a good point.
I'm thinking, that's why I'm quite happy. One of the reasons I'm quite happy to be in a conference, other than it's a lovely trophy. Did you see it when Roma?
Yeah, it's a nice trophy in the Europa League one.
It is lovely trophy. Would love that. But that's like the old early rounds of the old Europa League, where the likes of Spurs used to play these two bob sides out in the back of beyond, and that's where Harry Kane was first blooded by Tim Sherwood. That's how he kind of came about. He did well. He did well in those games. And and I'm not saying we play a team of kids, we'll never do what Allardyce did ever again. But if we can pick two maybe special ones and try and integrate them with our second string, then that's two more players that you got with first team competitive experience.
Yeah. That's how you do it, don't you? You just sort of wean them in very slowly, but you do it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good point. And I would fully expect that. Certainly, when you look at the, you're going to talk about that, Gary, soon anyway. When you look at because of the Winter World Cup, the way that all the fixtures have been compacted in the lead up to that, I think we're going to have to play some reserve players, youth players in the early stages of that Conference League, because we're going to have to. And look, we should have enough. We should have enough. I don't think it will be an all out. He won't just go out and play the under-23s, will he? But I think we're going to have to start seeing some of those players coming in and getting game time. Because look, at the end of the day, if he's not going to give them any game time, what's the point in having that bloody youth system anyway? What's the point? If you're not going to use them, what is the point? But anyway, moving on. So Aguerd, I don't know how you pronounce it. As we know, or well, look, we don't know yet because it's not official, but we think he's signed. He's given he said his goodbyes to the Ren fans on social media. All the big ITKs have said that it's done and it's over the line, and we're expecting him to be sort of all fully signed and with us on midday on Monday. Yeah, it's great news. I won't say I know anything about this guy because I don't. I've seen some really good YouTube reels of tackles and stuff like that, which are impressive. I did watch a couple of Morocco games just recently. He was playing. Didn't notice him, but then again, I don't always look for defenders in those types of games.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Didn't notice him. He was doing his job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Under the radar.
He is highly rated. He does seem to have a full array of everything that you need in that position. He is a bit of a ball playing centre back. He's got legs and all. He can run. He's quick. He seems decent. But like I say, I won't. But this is all taken from YouTube. I won't pretend that I know too much about him because I don't. Luke, can you shed any light on it? Do you know anything about him?
Well, first of all, whenever I hear a description of these things, he's good in the air. He's good in the air. He's fantastic at running. He's good in the tackle. He's good at. You're thinking,
he's a defender.
Why are Man City not after him then? Why is he not winning Ballon d'Or? Because the way people describe him is so like amazing.
The thing is, what I will say is, Luke, with these types of players, and he is highly rated, he is only young.
Yeah.
I think you've only got one chance to sign these types of players. Now, why? There's a couple of reasons why I'm excited about this, and it isn't because I know anything about the player, because I don't. But that's because it's a lot of money. It's 25 million, and this is definitely somebody that has been scouted, and it's somebody that David Moyes wants. Now that's quite important. This isn't kind of a big money kind of marquee signing to sell season tickets. This is a functional player that has been scouted that we think that we need to fit our system. There's a lot of people that have said he's a left-sided centre back that can he's bought him so that he can play left back as well. No, well he's played left back a few times in his career, but then again, Kurt Zuma's played right back a few times in his career. He ain't going to go out and play right back, is he?
Look, a couple of things about him, right? Number one, he does seem shit off a shovel, right? I saw a TikTok clip, even better than YouTube, right? A TikTok clip of him where this other team broke and he started about 10 yards behind the attacking player. Not only did he catch him all the way down the other end of the pitch, he slid and put the ball out. And that was either the slowest counter-attack going or this guy's got a lot of pace. Secondly, he plays for a very, very good international side. Morocco, they've only lost, of their last 18 games since the beginning of last year, they've won 14, drawn 2 and lost 2. And he's a regular in that side. And most of them have been competitive World Cup and AFCON games. He's a good player.
He's a regular. Now, from what I've seen of him, his strengths are, right, look, listen, like you said, he's quick. So balls over the top. So if we're going to play a high line, balls over the top, he's going to cover you. He's going to be able to get back. He's going to be able to make challenges and stuff like that. He'll be able to. He's got that recovery pace that we will need. But I have seen a couple of other videos posted by Ren fans. I don't know whether you've seen him on Twitter. And this is of a different thing. This is when players are running at him directly. And there was a couple of times where he did look a little bit like a giraffe folding up a deck chair. His legs were all getting sort of tangled up because he is very leggy. He is very leggy. So there was a couple of embarrassing moments when players were running at him square on. But nonetheless, look, I suppose no one's going to be perfect. He has only cost us 25 million. It isn't 30 million.
There's a comment. So there's a comment underneath that said, "Can a centre back be a marquee signing?"
No, but he was last summer. It was bloody Zuma.
I personally think
that was John. Yeah,
I think they can. I see the reason why. Honestly, I know some people only like watching games that there's loads of goals in, and I know there's some people that think that a really defensive game is boring, but I actually respect it. I actually watch games and I think they are boring, but it's quite, to me, almost like fascinating to watch in some ways, because I'm a FIFA player. I play FIFA, and I actually enjoy it more when I stop someone scoring against me than when I score. It's really weird. But the one thing I always remember is the classic Sir Alex Ferguson quote, which was, strikers or goals will win you games, but defence will win you titles. And tell me honestly, I would take a 0-0/1-0 rather than winning 3 or 4-3 or 3-2 or something like that. I know they're more exciting. But I think for a lot of times, people can name in their head more West Ham strikers and midfielders, their favourite players over the years, than they can defenders and goalkeepers. Because for whatever reason, even if you've got a decent defender, no, they're boring. Defenders are boring, right? You clap them for stopping a goal, but you're going to talk more about Bowen's goals. You're going to talk more about Antonio's goals, stuff like that. But if you've got a geezer like this who saves you a shot, or you've got a Haaland on the opening day and he keeps him in his pocket, right? That's worth 50 of signing a striker from the Championship. And signing a great defender is the sign of me personally being a successful club.
I agree, but then I'm going to take umbrage with what you said about Ben Raum earlier on, because if you are a defensive-minded person where you think it's, obviously, you just got to score one more goal in the opposition. That's the most important thing. Why would you be kind of you like Ben Raum? Ben Raum gives the ball away and messes up more than any other forward player that I've ever watched at West Ham. Honestly, he genuinely does.
I totally agree. I like Ben Raum. I do like him. I don't love him.
He puts us on the back foot more often than he puts us on the front foot.
Yeah. There's times where he goes to beat a defender, completely bottles it and passes it back, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And David Raum, I'm not saying I prefer defenders to strikers or attackers. What I'm saying is I think they get a bit of a harsh treatment in that, I think when Man United signed Varane this summer, there was loads of people who would rather sign Varane than sign Ronaldo, because they knew they needed a player like Varane in the back, because Maguire was almost like he was going to cost them more goals and Ronaldo was going to score them, sort of thing. It was that kind of that difference. So I know totally what you're saying. I just think that it's like, you can't have a marquee side. Well, why can't you?
Not two summers running. Not when you've only had one makeshift striker for 18 months to 2 years.
If you sign a good defender and as a striker, then that's all right.
And sort of going back, I'm going to jump back a little bit to what Gary was talking about before, and this is about sort of the transfer window, and I do think we need to improve in that final third, because I think as a team, go back to the start of last season when we had our full fit, when we had our best defence. When you had Ogbonna, Zuma, we were solid. We are the type of team, our forward players, they need 2, 3, 4 chances to score a goal.
Yeah.
I think for us to, and we play a style of football that we create chances. I think we need more quality in that final third. We need clinical players. I think Bowen is becoming more clinical. He's probably our most clinical forward. But even he isn't clinical. You saw in the England games just recently, he had a few chances. He ain't exactly Kane, is he? It's not like one chance and it's a goal, is what I mean.
No.
We need 1 or 2 players like that. And that's what Lingard had. Do you remember when Lingard first came in? Did you notice Lingard, it was more or less every shot that Lingard hit was on target. It was always on target.
Big difference. Yeah.
He don't always go for the top corner pearlers. He don't want to get it in off the crossbar, like a FIFA goal for match of the day. It was just effective. Whack the ball at the goal. It was very direct. And I think we just need a few more. We need a few more players like that with real quality in that final third. And you're right. Of course, we need to. Well, look, we need to replace Ogbonna. I can only think if we're spending 25 million on this player, Ogbonna must. I'm assuming that they're not confident with Ogbonna's recovery.
No. Ogbonna's signed another year's contract. This means Diop is out the door. So we've got 2 left-sided in Aguerd and Ogbonna, 2 right-sided in Dawson and Zuma. We've got two right backs in Johnson and Diop I reckon will be going. I mean, we ain't going to have five, are we? We ain't going to be treated to five, are we? And then on the right hand side, you've got Soufal and Johnson. Left hand side, you'll have a backup in Cresswell and hopefully a new left wing. So that means you've got a whole, a really strong first back four and a really decent second string back four as well.
Yeah,
that'd be brilliant. And the ability, hopefully, I hope this Aguerd is flexible enough to be able to play a back five as well. And hopefully the new left wing back can play in a, hopefully the new left back can play left wing back, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Gary, moving on from Aguerd, we've got this link.
Okay. Just a couple of comments before we go on. Does a centre back excite the masses? Yeah, I think it excites me. It excites Luke. Don't excite Nick. How does everyone think the World Cup mid-season break will affect us? Very badly, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We'll remember those back to the wall performances. Rob Green, the Great Escape season. Yeah, we do. Fan base are desperate for a striker. Well, I think I might have a street party outside my house if we sign a striker. Well, yeah, true. And since that takes us nicely onto this Nesyri. So we all know Nesyri. We saw him a couple of times play against West Ham last year. He's also a player who 1 season ago was scoring pretty much every game for Seville. He got 25 goals in the previous season without a single penalty. They were all from open play, but he's still with some set pieces. But last season he only scored 5. He had a massive drop off in his goal scoring, and that has affected his value. The season before last, he was worth probably 50 million. Now rumours are you can pick him up for 25 to 30. Now, I think when you look at Seville, when we saw Seville up close and personal, they're not a free scoring, goal scoring side, are they? I mean, they are very defensive. I don't know if that's the team, the way they played last year, would bring out the best in a striker. I don't know. He's still doing very well for Morocco, by the way. He played recently. He's a regular striker for Morocco. He's very good in the air. He's got a very strong left foot. He's lethal around the 12-yard box. This is a very, very good proven striker who's had a bit of an off season in the league, and I think that could be a very attractive proposition for David Moyes, who's a long-term admirer. But does he want to come to England? I mean, apparently he's very happy in Spain. He's always played. He's grown up in Spain. He's always lived and played in Spain. So that's my one concern. Is his heart going to be in it? What do you reckon, Luke?
It's one of those things where I think every now and then you sort of look at David Moyes and you go, why? Like, what is it about this bloke that you really like? Because I watched him for the Sevilla game. For the home game, the first leg, he was really good against us. And I think with respect, I think their entire team that night at London Stadium for the second leg, their team was a bit quiet compared to what a lot of people thought they were going to play. I didn't see much in him to think, I can see why Moyes wants this guy. So it didn't really make much sense to me at the time, thinking I would spend that much on it. If he's really happy in Spain again, unless we've got someone over here who's proper, giving him a massage in the right areas and saying, "No, you're right. You want a bit of England, mate. Don't worry about that. We do better food over it, something like that." Okay. I don't think he's gonna change it very quickly. I haven't got a massive opinion on the guy. I think he would be a good player if Moyes gets his hand. Because if Moyes really wants you, if Moyes really wants it to work, I believe that's the only way really you're going to get the best out of a player in this team. It needs to be a Moyes golden boy, as Lingard was when he first came in, and then we really wanted him. But he straight away went, no, Lingard's a golden boy, and he let him do what he wants, which he didn't do with Benrahma so far, but he did with Lingard, and it showed in the results that followed. It was a good decision. But this guy, especially if his form's dropped, I can't really understand why he would still be after him. Because it doesn't seem like the kind of Moyes player. He doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
He's not going to be able to play the Antonio role, is he?
No. Do you know what I mean? It didn't seem like it against us. It was a lot of balls were put into him in the box rather than him chasing after him and chasing him down and making the opportunities.
See, I felt differently about him. No, he's not an Antonio style player. He's a striker. I think that's the one key difference. There's a lot of people. It's like there's someone in the chat who said no, Denis is a better option. Well, Denis was good for the first half of last season. He has got good stats, but there's no. I'm not sold on Denis, but we'll talk about him in a minute. But he's performed well for quite a few years now, and yes, he did have a quiet year last year, but his performances weren't terrible. And what I did notice against us is he wasn't like Haller. He's not a static striker. He doesn't just kind of just drift around. Quite a few times when we're attacking, he's chasing back. His work rate is incredibly good. I didn't think he was he weren't a lazy player. He was having a good tussle with Dawson. I don't know if you remember him sort of having a little tantrum on the floor after Dawson had clattered him for like the third time, and he sort of sitting on the floor exacerbated when he was kind of slapping the floor. He looked thoroughly miserable. But he is he's a big, powerful player. He's good in the air. He could have easily scored against us, and I don't think he's a top player. I don't think he's going to need many chances to score, and we create chances.
He always hits the target, Nick. He always hits the target. You remember that Areola save? That was from his header.
It's from he's an extremely good player, and I do think he would be. And there's a reason why Moyes would want him. I think Haller was a brilliant striker, but he's a different type of striker. He's not mobile. He's just a target man. He's just a lump that you stick up front. He can link up play as well. So if you've got loads with Ajax, he's got loads of tricky players around him doing all the work. He's that foil. He just sits in the middle, sort of linking players up. He can lead the line. This guy. He can lead the line. He can run in behind. He's got a bit of everything. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for me.
Yeah.
But and I've watched him a fair few times. I've always been impressed with him.
Yeah, because you watch games other than West Ham, don't you? I don't. I do. I'm completely biased.
I used to watch a lot of La Liga games when Ronaldo and Messi were the top, and I only watch a European game now. I've got a bet on it, so that shows you where my mentality's gone now. So I don't, obviously watch other European games to scout for West Ham's future opponents. So
the one I really wanted, I was a bit obsessed with, is a bloke who's gone to Liverpool though. That was that Darwin Núñez. I would have loved that.
Do you? I never saw him, but I heard.
His work rate. You're talking about David Moyes style players. Even though he's got a fancy tropical name in Darwin Núñez, there's nothing fancy about his style. He's a bulldozer. He just doesn't stop running. He's presses from the front. He's an animal. The kid. He's made for Premier League football, and it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be the standout player between him and Haaland.
So when we were linked with him in January, what do you think happened there? Because if he's ended up going to Liverpool,
I think that was genuine. I think that was a genuine link, because you're talking about a real top class player here, and I think if David Moyes could have got that over the line, when you're looking at it now, 50 million probably would have been a bloody good deal, wouldn't it, for him?
Why do you think he didn't get it? Would you just think that the board didn't want to give the money up, or did you think because he was playing Champions League with Benfica?
He was playing for Benfica. He's playing Champions League, and he's probably spoken to his agent. And his agent's gone, if West Ham are willing to pay 50 million for you, wait until the summer.
There is that.
So I don't know. So I do think that it would have had to have been an exceptional player for us to have made that sort of that signing in January. I do think it looks like we did try, but yeah, I don't know. The only thing that concerns me now is I don't think we're going to see anything like that now. I think I would put Nesyri on that level. I'm not saying he's as good as Núñez, but that is a star player. That is of that ilk. He's what was it, a couple of seasons ago? Was it, Gary? Was it 40 million? We was linked with a signing for him. I think it was a bid of 40 million. And
definitely, it was at least that.
So no, but I think he'd be a good signing. But anyway, moving on to these two, we'll briefly talk about these. Obviously, we're linked with a double swoop for Ismail Saar and Denis of Watford. These two are linked with multiple other teams as well, I might add. I don't know whether they've got the same agent who's just pumping them around. Saar, I do think I'm excited about the Saar link. I wasn't initially, but the more I've thought about it, I think he is a Moyes type player. This guy, I think he can play on the right, he can play on the left, he can play down the middle. He's adaptable, and the only question mark over Saar, I think, is his injury record. I've had a little look, and he is prone to picking up the odd injury. But he is a good player. He's a very good player. He's shit off a shovel. He's incredibly quick. He's tricky. I thought that he would have got his move after they got relegated last time, but he didn't. He's been linked with loads of top clubs, and the fee being reported, being touted. I don't know. I've not looked. I don't know where he is in terms of contract, but it's only around about 20 million, 25 million, which I think that's a brilliant deal for someone like him. So to get him in, and to see Benrahma going the other way. Now bearing in mind these are different types of players. I think Saar is more of a Lingard style player, because if you remember how direct Lingard was, he'd pick the ball up, he'd just go.
Yeah,
I think he's similar. He's a direct player, brilliant for a counter-attacking game. I don't think Benrahma is that really. Benrahma's he's tricky. Well, for a start, Benrahma's a 10, as is Vlasic a 10, as is Fornals a 10, as is Lanzini a 10. And these poor players do seem to get sort of wedged out on that left-hand side an awful lot, don't they, for us? That probably has helped a lot of them. Maybe even Vlasic.
Oh, Vlasic should be on the wing. He should be definitely in central position, totally.
Yeah, he should be. And obviously you've got Denis as well. Now, Denis came in. They bought him for $2 million in the summer. What a signing. What a signing. Didn't keep him up, but still a great signing. Loads of goals, loads of assists. But he did. He faded towards the end of the season, and you've got that. There is that old adage with the Premier League. I think we've almost seen it with Souček in central midfield. I think in the Premier League, if there is something about your game, if you're going to get found out anywhere, you'll get found out in the Premier League.
There was something about his game. Watford was shit, and they were getting trounced every week.
Do you know what I think? It was.
I'm not that keen on him. If we signed him, great, but it's not for me. I wouldn't be going out spending silly money on him.
No, I think Roy Hodgson was personally for me that they're concrete on the ankles, if you get what I mean, because his mentality was the bloke retired. The bloke retired like the last year, and then Watford thought he'd be good to bring him back, and then when you hear that the last game of the season is back at Palace. And Hodgson didn't say anything to the Watford fans, just waved goodbye to the Palace fans. And was asked why he didn't go to the Watford fans. And went, they were too far away. They were too far away from where I was for me to go and say goodbye to them. I thought that just shows a complete and utter disdain for the job you're in, that you don't really... If you go into a job and you're trying to save them, you've got to try and get that club behind you. Where you want to take in the ethos. A bit like Moyes did when he joined West Ham. He said, no, I've got to get this club up. This club is going to stay up, and I'm going to keep it up. And obviously, the guy's retired. It looks like he should be in an old people's home anyway, half the time. But I didn't realise...
Wasn't that a strange appointment?
That's desperate. That shows you how desperate that Watford are, just to get anyone in with a bit of clout and go, oh, well, they'll do. And I thought, when you're bringing someone like that in, you really haven't. Either you even don't care, or you're preparing for the inevitable.
I think that they was at a stage where, when you look at the Watford setup, if you look at Denis and you look at this player, they had good players. I think that they were at a stage that they needed an appointment to come in who would inspire them. Yeah, someone to come in and light a fire. That's what they needed. Unfortunately, Roy's not going to light a fire. He's going to put the fire out, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to tell a story about how the fire was good 20 years ago.
It was definitely a strange one. But anyway, Saar, Denis, thinking about him individually, do you think they would be good signings for us, Luke?
You mentioned that Saar should have got his move after the first limit down. How long has he been at Watford then? Because I haven't looked at him at all.
Now, isn't it? It's about 3 years, 4 years.
Right, because I'm completely. I thought he was a new signing. That's how uneducated I am.
No, I've seen him there for a while.
I've seen him play, and he reminds me, when I have seen him, when we first signed Antonio, and he was used to going. He was running at players and using his strength and bullying them and going past. But also had a bit like. Don't get me wrong, Antonio didn't have technical abilities to get away with a lot of things. You sort of think, how the hell have you got that in? But he used to use his body to his is an asset. And when I've seen Saar, especially on the wing, he just drills past players, but he's so big they can't knock him off, and he's got good footwork as well. And I think there's a few times where I watched Watford and they had Denis and they had Saar going at it, and I'm looking and going, their defence must be awful, because how are they not winning games 3 or 4-0? You got them two blokes. It's like three Antonios running about. You know what I mean? It's just on top 40, which is ridiculous.
Is that true? Did they pay 40 million for Saar? Alan Dawson says.
Did they?
Watford, did they? In which case, I mean, he was linked with some big clubs, Saar, right? He was, because he's a good winger, isn't he? He's a very good winger. I think my personal belief on him is he would be an upgrade on Benrahma.
Oh, massively. He really would be. So they paid 40 million for Saar. Where from?
I don't know, but he must be on big wages to go with that. So that must be why they're willing to listen to lower offers, I would imagine.
Yeah. That's a strange one, that, isn't it? I'm just looking for it now. 1 minute, where are we? So it's made a Saar.
But I think Denis as well, right? Denis is not. He's got more to his game than just a straightforward striker. I think he's another wide player come striker. Does a lot of good work in the middle of the pitch, a lot of link-up play. Seems to have a good touch, very attack-minded, can play a killer ball. But again, I don't think we've seen in that Watford side and the way Hodgson was playing. I don't think you're going to see the best of a player. I think he did well in a crap team.
No. And what? So do you think both of those players will be good signings, Gary? Denis and Saar.
I don't want to sound desperate, but I am desperate to bring in options, and I think Saar is a no-brainer. I think he would be a great player for us. Denis, I'm undecided, but to have a backup player that can actually play in the striker's position and could arguably do what Antonio does, play that sort of role as the lone man up front. It'd be great to have another option, wouldn't it? And really, the other option at the moment is Bowen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right, so moving on. Set piece king, right? So look, we've all seen the links in the recent weeks to James Ward-Prowse. Rumor has it that we're willing to pay upwards of 60 million for the player, which I find really hard to believe. I'm not saying that Moyes doesn't want him, and I'm not going to doubt that he is a very good player. Probably would improve us as well. His set pieces alone for a team like West Ham probably worth 20 goals, something like that. But that is an incredible amount of money for what is little more than a dead ball specialist in my eyes, because I don't think there's too much more to his game. He is a very energetic, decent technical player, but it's his set pieces which kind of that's what makes him a little bit special. Well, now we've been linked with this guy previously, but over the last week or so, there's been plenty of reports, and that's with the Hoffenheim left back David Raum. Now, if you're not familiar with this guy, he's a tremendous left back, and he would provide us with a similar level of threat from dead ball situations as James Ward-Prowse as well. He's deadly from set pieces, as well as fixing that problem that we know that we've all got at left back. Yeah, he's more than a dead ball specialist as well. He's unlike James Ward-Prowse, I think he's much more than that. And at 24 years of age, he's looking like, or he's touted to be the sort of the Germany left back for years to come. He's superb defensively and offensively, and I think it's an ambitious target. He's linked with so many clubs, and it would be expensive as well. I'll probably expect him to be in a region of about 25 to 30 million. So maybe more than what we're paying for Aguerd, but yeah. But look, he's a left back, but he's more than that. He's superb. He's an attacking player. He can play left back. He can play left wing back. He's only 24. That would be impressive. I was gutted when we didn't get Luca Dean. I wanted us to get him because I
can't defend. He showed he can't defend.
No. But what I'm saying is, I see value in fullbacks, and I think that this. I know a lot of people maybe don't. You might think 25 to 30 million on a left back's too much money. I personally don't, if they're worth it, and I think this guy is. Plus, you've got the added benefit of him providing. Because look, Cresswell is our set piece specialist probably at the moment, isn't he? So if he's out the team, you do need to replace that. So what I'm saying is, do you think if we were to get somebody like David Raum, do you think we'd still go after James Ward-Prowse?
I don't honestly see where Ward-Prowse fits into our team. I mean, people have been putting together mock lineups with him playing alongside Declan Rice in the middle. I'm not so sure that would bring out the best in Declan Rice. It would immediately relegate Declan Rice to doing all the defensive donkey work again. Which is what you flipped your lid on about last year, Nick, with Souček.
But Gary, the reason I flipped my lid on that with Souček is because Souček offers nothing going forward.
Yeah, let's not get into Souček because that would just depress me.
But that's the reason why. I think Declan Rice. If Declan Rice went to Man City or Liverpool, he's a holding midfielder because they've got better attacking players. We didn't have any better attacking midfielders.
Okay, what I'm saying is, Ward-Prowse to me is not worth 70 million. Someone said that on the chat here, right? No. That would be way over the top, and that's just like us asking 150 million for Declan Rice, right? We're saying we're not selling. They're saying they're not selling. Rumor is he loves it in Southampton, doesn't want to go. You know, you don't want to take a player against their will. Raum, everything I've looked, I've seen about him over the last couple of days and watched him and stuff like that. He looks top draw. And to have someone that can come in, slot in, we do need to replace Cresswell. Cresswell, we know the only reason Cresswell has been functional a lot of the time is because we've been doubling up on him. And actually helping him defend,
babysitting him defensively.
We've been basically conceding one of our, you know, whoever's played out on the left in front of Cresswell. The big part of their job is to defend and double up for Cresswell, right? So whether that's Fornals or whether that's Ben Rama or whoever that is playing in front of Cresswell, to get someone who like Raum, who is a good defender in his own right, would allow you to push further up the pitch. I think also. He can do everything that Cresswell can do in regards to set pieces. He has got more pace than Cresswell, a lot more pace, and he's a better defender. We've got to fill that position. I think we saw at the end of the last season the weaknesses at Cresswell. He's been a great servant, but I think he should be kind of relegated to the second string now.
Yeah. No, I agree. What about yourself? I saw you sort of smirking away there, Luke, when I was talking about James Ward-Prowse. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I thought I was nothing more wrong because for me, I'm still living in this West Ham dreamland. When you say things like this is going to be Germany's #1 left back, I still think, well, what are we doing thinking we've got a chance of getting him? Because we're little old West Ham.
He's not yet. What
no, but I know you're getting that.
Yeah, he's not yet.
For me to be going after someone who's potentially going to be a world-class left back is just mind-boggling because I'm so used to West Ham being fighting relegation, and yes, we've had a good 2 years, but I'm still. This is for me, West Ham's little old West Ham, and then to a level it probably always will be. That's just my mentality. Yeah. That will change over the years, but that's just where I'm at. Bring him on. First of all, that round. I think if he can do everything you boys are saying, I've never seen him at all, and I'm just learning about him right now. I'll take it all day long. I feel a bit sorry for Cresswell in respect. I think he's played well this year. I think he's been caught out in Europe though. I think he's level everything. The whole team for me faltered in Frankfurt, but I think he's had a few moments which people have gone, hold on, he's not that good for where we want to go, and so unfortunately for him, he's going to have to take a step back. Set piece wise, we are crying out for set piece takers because I think at the minute, look for me, unfortunately, the best bloke I've ever seen in a West Ham shirt is Dimitri Payet. That's just the way it is. Whether I like it or not, it is. There's no one that's left me jaw drop like he has when I'm watching West Ham games. And my favourite player has always been Di Canio, all-time favourite player, but he is. But we've not had someone who, when he gets the ball from a dead ball, you can relax. Because Cresswell's good at it. Don't get me wrong, Cresswell scored a brilliant free kick against Everton. But there's been a few times this year where he's had 2 or 3 in a game and they've all gone to the first defender or the keeper's come out straight away and got it. And you just like that. The half the thing with set pieces unpredictability. Now, when you see Ward-Prowse's free kicks this year, especially when against Wolves, it's almost done like 3 curls before he's gone in, or he's done it a certain way that it's gone in, right? So Ward-Prowse for me, I don't think he's technically brilliant everywhere else. I don't think he'd be a good player in a centre midfield doing a Declan Rice while he picks the ball up and dribbles around people to go and make things happen. But it's handy having that little outlet, especially the way that Moyes plays, which is basically half the game is based on set pieces. Then to have someone like him would be brilliant. I don't know what your thing with Souček, Nick. Maybe we might talk about it in the past, but I think Souček's been held back by the fact that Declan Rice is wanting to go forward more, and I think that I know, but when Souček first signed, for me, he was amazing because he was box to box, and every time the ball would come in the area, you thought, "Where's Souček?"
But literally, Moyes alluded it to himself after the Arsenal game that the only reason that Souček was in that team was because he was tall. When you say he's an attacking midfielder, I mean seriously, Luke. Seriously, right? When you say
never said that.
No. What I mean is, if you're an attacking midfielder, you need to offer more than getting your fucking nut on the end of a cross. Okay, he was excellent at that, and he had a really good period where he scored 10 to 15 goals. I think that maybe he mastered a few things. His engine, he runs a lot. But I don't think he's as good defensively as Declan Rice. I don't think he's as good going forward as Declan Rice. Maybe that's an unfair comparison because Declan Rice is world class, but Souček has looked terrible for a while. And when I hear, I listened to it on the on More Than Just a Podcast, and Candice and Len and Nigel kind of went off on one because Sean Whetstone said that he's only on 70 grand a week, and he wants about 90 to 100. In what world can Souček ask for a pay rise after that last season? How can that be? The guy, and that's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying that I want Souček gone. I think something happened. I don't think it's got anything to do with the fact that Declan Rice, on occasion, I'll tell you what it is, Luke. Declan Rice doesn't maraud forward all game. He doesn't. But what happens is when Declan Rice marauds forward with the ball from deep, you remember it because something happens. He might do it 3 or 4 times in the game, but quite often he's leaving players on their arse. He's leaving McGinley's arse. Souček is always behind the play. He gets forward. He ain't got the pace to get up with a fast counter-attack. So he gets up. The fucking play breaks down. He's now got to run back. So he ain't getting back defensively. He hardly touches the ball. In some of those games I watched towards the end of the season, I'm going again. But yeah, so
no. First of all, there's a few comments down below that saying, "Why does everyone shoot off as I'm the guest tonight?" Which I think is true. Maybe I've talked that is true.
I'm not shooting off. I am there. It's just I don't want to. I don't
know where Dave's gone. I think Dave got tired of me interrupting. I think a little bit, which is fair enough. I apologise. I know what you mean with Souček. For me, it's a shame. It's a shame what's happened to him because at one point he was a potato salad king, and everyone loved Souček. There was no criticisms at all. He was almost like the guy that could do nothing for 90 minutes and then pop up with a winner. Now people are going, he's not worth this, he's not worth that. When he first signed, people were saying he should be on double what he's on. He should be on 200 grand a week. Whatever he wants, just give this Czech god whatever he wants, and he will be the man for us. And now it's like he wants to go to Spurs. Go on, Spurs, do us a favour. Go and take him off our hands. Go on, he'll do nothing for you. So it's a shame. It's a shame, and I understand what you're saying, and it's kind of nice, Nick, that you've got a different opinion because when you do make an opinion, it makes sense. And sometimes when I make an opinion like that, I ramble on. And everyone's like, "We're supposed to do that."
But look. What I will say is to give Souček credit, and what I will say is I don't think he's a crap player. I don't think he's turned into a crap player overnight. Something's definitely gone wrong because there were some things that he was fundamentally good at in that first season. Not just his goals. He was a bit of a destroyer. He was a midfield destroyer. Even that he's not been doing. So something's gone wrong with Souček in last season. He weren't right in any way. I don't know what that is, and that can't purely be because Declan Rice is going for it. That can't be the reason, mate. And if it is, then Souček needs to give his head a wobble, mate. He's sulking. I'm sorry.
Listen, Happy Amaret said something really true, and I think we all know this, right? In the couple of games where Rice didn't play and Souček played on his own, he did brilliantly.
Who was that against, Gary? Who was that against? Was that against a team that just got relegated?
It's against Watford.
Yeah.
Burnley as well.
Burnley as well. Yeah, there were a couple, and he was outstanding in both of those.
So what you're saying is he'd be great in the Championship? Is that what you're saying? Or
no, I'm not saying that. Anyway,
and
there's another important thing as well from Guarino. He has played for 2 years without a break. He's shattered.
He has,
and he looked shattered at the end of last year.
Do you think all those knocks to the head have done him any damage? That's what it is. He's got like long-term concussion. He just don't know where he is anymore.
He likes kicking balls with his head, doesn't he? He is mad.
I tell you what. He did have a good run of games when he had the bandage around his head.
Yes, he did, and it was when that bandage came off.
He went back to normal again. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Right, Gary, we've already touched on this already, so you probably want to whiz through this one.
I will whiz through it. I mean, look, a couple of things we didn't mention was Connor Coventry. He's been out on loan to MK Dons, done really well. He's done well on loan wherever he's been. So is he going to come back and maybe slip into Noble's position this year? Armstrong Okaflex, 20 years old, likely to break through. 12 goals and 1 assist in 22 games in the under-23s. Sonny Perkins, he wants out apparently, but he's got a year to go left on his contract. And he wants to do a Jeremy Ngakia or Grady Diangana. Harrison Ashby, He looks like another player who is potentially going to break through into the first team. He looks like a very good player, but he's probably third in line in that right back position at the moment. So looking at these players, these youth players, the under 23s, I'll read them out again. Connor Coventry, Occo Flex, Sonny Perkins, Lungello's probably going. Baptiste is probably going out on loan. Harrison Ashby will probably be there. So you're talking about Ashby, Perkins, Occo Flex, Coventry. Do you think that any of those are going to break through in our Conference League campaign? Luke?
I hope they do. And I think it'd be the perfect opportunity to do it. Ashby, I think, is absolutely destined for the first team. For the very few things I've seen of him, I think there's a level when you look at someone, when you look at a first team player, when they're going to make it, and what it is do they look like a deer in headlights, or do they look like they're made for it? It's like a mentality thing. You see them. If you see a player when they make debut and they look like they've been in the team for years, or do they look like going there? They're panicking, and every time they get the ball, they don't know what to do with it. It's a bit harsh. But when I saw Ashby, I think he come on the bench, come off the bench against Arsenal away, and he looked like he'd been there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he looked really good. So I think Ashby will definitely be in there.
He doesn't look out of place, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
No. But what that does as well, it helps the team, because the first team, when you see a youth player come on, most of the senior team go, right, we've got to look after him now. We've got to try and be there for him near the ball. And as soon as he got the ball, all the players they dispersed. And he was running with the ball along the line. He was trying to find players and whatever. And he wasn't flat long. But
was that the game where he gave it to, who was that? That was against Spurs, wasn't it?
It was Spurs. He started against Spurs. He started against Spurs, didn't he?
Yeah, he went chest to chest with Højbjerg, didn't he?
I didn't see it. I was at work actually at that game. I didn't see it. But no, I think Coventry, if he's had a really good season at NK Dons, he maybe deserves a chance in pre-season. And like you said, in the 23s, Mark Noble's gone now, Crow's gone as well. So you've got two elements of that midfield that can be shored up. I'd like to see Occo Flex get a chance. I'm just a fan of him, and if he proves that he's crap, then fair enough. I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong, and I shouldn't ever talk about a player again from the under-23s. Perkins, I'm not a fan of him personally. I'm really not. I think I want him to do well, and I think when he come on in the Europa League in the group stages, and there was a point in the last minute where the ball came in the box, and he had no defenders around him, and he headed it straight into the keeper's arms.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. He's taken his chance. He's just come on, and he's a young kid. And you give him all the excuses in the world, but there's a part of it that goes, that should be in. You should be making the keeper work there.
That's your chance, isn't it? I think that's your big chance.
And I think he come on. I think he come in a league game as a sub as well, and it was the last 2 minutes. It's not really enough for a player to make an impact, but he seemed a little bit away with the clouds. He seemed a little bit like there was a point where the ball went over to him, and rather than jumping for it or making a leap saying, this is my ball, he let the defender out muscle him a little bit. And I know that there's a level where he's just not as strong, but there's a mentality thing of, right, he's going to go for it, he's not. So I'm at the point where I'm almost desperate for any youth player to make it, so I'm going to just be behind him and go, yeah, give him a chance and let's just see it happen. And maybe there's other fans that support West Ham are like that as well. And I do realise that you have to be good enough, but I think that at the same time, there's certain players that, even if they were good enough, would Moyes really take a chance on them, or would he rather just keep playing the same? Dawson's got an injury. We know he plays really well, so let's just play him, rather than saying, look, this is your chance now, lad. Go out there and have a chance, with someone. So the Conference League is the best. Depending who we get in the group stage, because there might be a Roma that we get in the group stage. There might be a Feyenoord or someone who's ever got to latter stages. You look at where these teams are finishing their leagues, and you've got about 8 places worth of decent teams. You've got Atlanta who's been decent. I think they just missed out on it or something.
But I expect Moyes, though, to do the kind of rotation that he did in the Europa League, where he rotates like half of the first team, So he keeps a body, a backbone of strong players. And then there will surely always be a place for a youngster. If they're good enough, they should be thrown in.
Yeah. There really has to be, because Locke have already said, if we're not going to blood these players and give them an actual run in games, what is the point? Yeah. There is no point. Coventry's definitely earned. He's earned a place on the bench. I think. I think he looked good the last pre-season before we loaned him out. He's gone and he's had a really successful loan period away. What is the point in loaning players out if, when they do well, when they've been loaned out, if you don't kind of give them an opportunity at least to see what they can do? Give him 6 months until January. Let's see what he can do.
Totally
Would be a bit of a shame. Be a bit of a shame if we didn't do that. But I think he will. I'm hoping that he will anyway.
Fingers crossed. I think he does that.
Do you think? See this from Happy Amaret. I can't see the 5 subsystems making any difference.
No.
Do you honestly think there's going to be any game next year where Moyes makes 5 subs?
Not one. Not once. It won't happen. It will never.
No,
happen.
He barely makes 3 at this point.
I know,
he makes 1 on 70 minutes every game, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There was. I was on the West Ham network a little while back, and we had an Everton fan on. And we asked him questions, and he said, he's pleased to see David Moyes finally doing well after not doing well at Man United. And but it is very much like when he used to be at Everton. We said, well, explain it. In what way is it actually like being when he was Everton manager? And he said, well, does he do this? Does he bring on subs really late to the point where you can't understand why he's bringing them on so late? Yeah, he tends to do it, Does he pick players based on, how they're going to fit the team rather than form and stuff like that? Like, would a player score 2 goals in the previous game and yet still be on the bench when it comes to the next game? Yeah, he's probably like to do that. Does he make a sub at times that no one in 60,000 in that ground can work out why he's made that sub? Yeah, he did that to a degree last year. Yeah, and you start thinking, like, I do respect it to a level. Like those first team players, like, you've picked them for a reason. You have your core. Everyone knows each other's game, and there's predictability, but there's also form as well. Yeah. But then you start to think yourself, thinking, when you can clearly see that it wouldn't be a bad thing being on fresh legs, and it also wouldn't mind just freshening things up. Doesn't have to be a desperation with the last 50 minutes to go. It could be with half an hour to go, 40 minutes to go. If you know something, even if you're playing well, but you can do better. But then, as much as I love Moyes and I love what he's done with West Ham, you do look at him and just go, oh, Davey boy, he's comfortable. He's comfortable with the way he's got his set up. And unfortunately, having 5 subs in Europe might make a difference because knowing the way things go, he'll put out a team for the youngsters in a group game, and then in the 55th minute, he'll bring on 3 Premier League players because he thinks, no, that's what I need to do. That Bowen needs to play, and Declan Rice needs to come on and have some game time. So that'll only be the thing. But I know what you're saying, and you might as well have just 1 sub, just a goalkeeper.
I think so. And look, before we move on, as you are now our unofficial under-23s correspondent,
cheers for that.
Trev Tube, right? Evening all. Thierry Nevers is another one to keep an eye on. What have you seen about him? Have you seen much about him?
I did see one game where he was very energetic. But there was one clip, I think it did get clipped by West Ham, actually, in the end, where I think we scored a goal and he got the ball in midfield, and within a split second, he managed to backward nutmeg the opposition player, make a run, and put an assist in for a goal. And it was one of those... It was honestly, it was like one of those things where you see it on a reel. It's replayed over and over again. Like if you've done this in the Premier League, if this was what's it called? If this was Ronaldo for Man United, or if this was Mount for Chelsea, this would be getting played over and over again. He'd be getting awards for it and everything. And it was just literally flicked. It didn't even cross his mind. Didn't even look hard to do. Just boom, 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 and he's off. And then he'd have the defender in dust. And the only thing is, when you see things like that, you immediately think, what a player, brilliant. He's definitely going to be in the first team at some point. Then you think, he's only in his 23s though, isn't it? Will he be able to do that against the Premier League player? And then is he even getting his chance to do that in the senior team? So, there are players out there. That was my whole point earlier, that even no matter how good you might play, and actually if you are a definite good player, it's a shame that you might not get your chance in the first team.
He could be. Well, Trev Tube's on a roll here, because Nevers could be one of our subs that Moyes uses in exactly this way.
Brilliant.
He could get his big chance on the 94th minute. You never know.
Yeah, but if he tries that backward nutmeg, Moyes is going to fine him a week's wages. Right? Never do that again, son.
No,
Never do that again. Yeah.
Well, Gary, we've skipped Pierce. We're going to go on to this one because we're running.
I know. So look, very, very briefly,
2 hours.
we've got a tough start to the season, right? Man City at home. It don't come tougher than that. Why do we always get one of the big sides first game of the season? Followed by Forest away, which is a nightmare place to go. Followed by our nemesis, Brighton at home. Followed by a rejuvenated, many new signings, Villa away. Followed by Spurs at home. I ain't going to go any further than that, but to me, I just see win. I don't know about you two. Well, that's going to be a tough start to the season, isn't it, Luke?
It is. I mean, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist at times, and there is a part of me that goes, do you know what? They don't want us anywhere near that top 6. We're not fashionable enough. No. We're not likable enough. We're the old we're the Del boys from East London, and they don't want us near our pristine Premier League or anything like that. I don't know about any other West Ham fans watching this or in the chat or you two yourselves, but there's that little West Ham voice in the back of my head that goes, Nottingham Forest away is tougher than Man City at home. I just think a team. I always worry about the teams that come up on the first day because they're double at it. Even the ones that haven't been in for years, the ones that never been not the Watfords and the Norwiches and all that come up every other year. I mean, the ones that haven't had a sniff of Premier League football, the ones that have been down there for 30 years. Like Leeds, if you've got Leeds away from home after they've been down for 15 years and stuff like that. To me, they're just so up for it. And my only hope is that they get beat 4-0, 5-0 on the opening day and they're sucker punches so we could just walk all over them. Get revenge for that FA Cup game that Allardyce, put us under the bus for.
Absolutely. So how many centre backs do you reckon we're going to play against Man City on that?
About one, and then use Antonio as a makeshift box-to-box striker. I reckon.
Sorry, that ain't the full story, right? That ain't the full story. That is 5 fixtures in August. We've also got in between Forest and Brighton, we've got the playoff for the Conference League first leg.
I know. There's loads of
games. Then the following week we've got the second leg, or 2 weeks later we've got the second leg. Right, so we've got 7 games in August, 7 competitive games in August. That is going to be a tough ask. He needs to get his signing sorted in time for pre-season. One thing's for sure, right? In my mind, we cannot go to the last day of the transfer window. We've got to get it done, get our core players in and have a full pre-season with all of them so that they can hit the ground running. We can't be hanging around, because the transfer window goes a month into the new season. I don't want to see players signed in that month unless they're like surplus squad players or something like that. All the core business has got to be done early if we're going to have a chance.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's
scary, isn't it?
Brighton at home has just made my arse go a bit shaky. Villa. Do you know what? When you just said there that the amount of players that Villa have brought in, I relaxed because normally these teams that bring loads of players in, they normally don't tend to gel straight away.
Yeah.
So hopefully that works out in our.
And Spurs, you never know what you're going to get with them. I mean, that should be the game that we get up for.
That could be the game. They could be top of the league with 4 wins on the bounce, right? And then it all ends at the London Stadium.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. Okay, all right. Shall we? Let's move on to 1 minute. We're gonna have to skip the QA because we ain't got time. And Gary,
let's quickly do this. So, if you haven't seen it yet, the Transfer Tavern over at 6foot2.co.uk. It's a fabulous little feature where Andy, Denis and Nigel collect and collate all of the information for every player we're linked with. And I'm going to show you a quick promo video, share with you that Andy has tastefully put together. Right. So here we go. So there you go. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't,
that's every player we've been linked with.
Every player we've been linked with, it's like
a one-stop shop.
A database. And I'll tell you what, it's in Cockney-friendly language, so that the likes of me and Nick can understand as well. Yeah. Because they have ratings like as legs, can't see it, and what a load of bollocks and stuff like that, right? So
I'll expect it to be a 46-hour video, given it's all the players being linked with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's really good, mate. It's a very good feature. He's done well on that, Andy, hasn't he? He's done well.
He has. Yeah, get along there and sign up to 6foot2.co.uk and have a poke around.
Not sure about his theme music for the video though. That was
I know. Bit dodgy, isn't it? Right.
Bit dodgy. Yeah.
Right. Are we?
Right. I think that's more or less it, Gal. Do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining. First game of the season. It's good to be back, actually. First game of the season. First YouTube video of the season. Or last one of last season. I think it's the first one. But anyway, thanks for joining. Thanks for all of you who have stuck through with all your lovely comments. Luke, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, boy. Can I just also say there's a comment in here from Mandy G. I think I recognise the name from West Ham Network, and she just said De Gea is always a fave. It's very nice. It's very nice to be called a favourite. The De Gea name will still not really settle with me. I know I got to put a picture when my face isn't showing, but yeah, it's very nice. So thanks, Mandy. It's nice to see
you're fully embracing the De Gea thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've got to. There's just no doubt about it. I've got to jump on the bandwagon. I've got to try and embrace everything, even the hair, even the beard down here. You've got to try and make it nice bit. Boys, thank you very much for having me on. If I've interrupted any of you or waffled on too much, I apologise.
You've been brilliant. You've been brilliant. And thanks for Dave, who left early, who had to leave after an hour, unfortunately. But he just went without saying bye, which was quite hurtful. But but anyway, again, we will see you soon. Thank you for joining. Come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons.